Adirhu, Yivne Veito Bekarov, Bimheira, Biyameinu Bekarov, El B'nei Veitecha Bekarov. It's in your program on the far side. God of might, God of right, you we give all glory. Sing your praise in these days, celebrate your glory. When we hear, year by year, freedom's wondrous story. Shabbat Shalom. Hag Sameach.
Hag Sameach. We're so happy to be here with you all tonight. Thank you for celebrating Shabbat with us.
Do you know that song Adirhu has changed English verses 100 times since I've been alive? Does anybody recognize that these are not the words that from the old Union Prayer Book, obviously, but they even changed in all the different prayer books we've had, and probably in the different Haggadot that you use at your Seders, different English words. So this is the one that was on most of the pieces of music. That's why I went with it.
Seems like a good reason.
Yeah, it's great. Did you have a good Seder?
I did. How about everybody here? How has Passover been so far? Good. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
We're going to have quite an oneg tonight.
It'll be great. There will be matzah.
There will be matzah. Yes.
So we're really happy to be here with all of you celebrating Shabbat, as well as everybody online. If this is your first time or first time in a while here, the prayer books are in front of you underneath the seats, and we'll call out the pages as we go, as well as sometimes calling out where we are in our program booklet, if it's something like the Adirhu we just sang that's unusual. And so I think...
Yeah, we're going to sing Let My People Go. Some of you may know that song. And we're going to sing it. It's in the prayer book words that are on page 361 in the prayer book. And by the way, because it is the Shabbat during Passover, there are a couple of insertions that we'll tell you about as we go in the service. They're specifically for Passover, and including some of the melodies tonight are Passover festival melodies. So let's sing together, Let My People Go. When Israel was in Egypt land, let my people go. Oppressed so hard they could not stand, let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. Thus saith the Lord, bold Moses said, let my people go. If not, I'll smite your firstborn dead. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down to Egypt's land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. No more shall they in bondage toil. Let my people go. Let them come out with Egypt's spoil. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down to Egypt's land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. Such a happy song.
Has a good ending.
Yeah.
Has a good ending.
Good ending.
So as we join together in welcoming Shabbat, we also welcome each other. So we'd love to invite you to take a moment, say hello to someone near you. Maybe you know them, maybe you're meeting them for the first time. You could share your favorite Passover food. And when we come back together in a moment, we'll be so excited to invite up the parents of our bar mitzvah student this weekend to come light the candles for us. We're so thrilled to have you all on the bima. So in a moment, we'll continue with the candle blessing on pages 2 and 3. And it's a pleasure to invite up Lauren and George, parents of Ethan, to light the candles for us.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all those who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all those who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words which we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter the sanctuary in need and all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Join together in the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת.
One of the themes of Passover is radical welcome, this idea that we should try to make our literal homes perhaps and also our communities as wide open as possible to everyone around us, that we should honor our interconnections with one another. And that's also one of the themes of an intention-based reading on page 6 of our prayer book. And so I'd love to invite you to join me thinking about this intention of what it is to create a space that all can enter and a community where we can all honor our connections to each other on the bottom of page 6. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life.
Kabbalat Shabbat begins on page 16 for us tonight with the singing of Zamru Ladonai. It is Sing Praises to God from Psalm 98. Let's join together. Zamru Ladonai, Zamru Ladonai bechinor, Yai lai lai lai, Yai lai 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 lai. Zamru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor bechol zimra, b'chatzotzrot b'kol shofar, hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai. Yalalai. Yai lai lai lai, Yai lai 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 lai. Yiram hayam umlo, Tevel ve'yosheveva, neharot imcha uchaf, yachad harim yeraneinu, Yai lai lai lai, Yai lai 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 lai lai, Yai lai lai lai. Page 20, we sing Lecha Dodi. Tonight we're singing verses 1, 2, and 9 from the old traditional Lecha Dodi by Louis Lewandowski. When we get to verse 9, the custom is to stand, to face the entrance to the sanctuary as we welcome in Shabbat, greet Shabbat, and then we'll remain standing for the Baruch Hu after that. But first, as we're seated, let's sing together the beginning of Lecha Dodi, page 20. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Ishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem u'letiferet v'lit ilah. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nikabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor haberacha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'makshava tehila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nikabela. Boi ושלום עטרת בעלה. גם בשמחה ובצוך עולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Page 28 in our prayer books, we continue with the call to worship, the Baruch Hu, with our festival melody. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. We continue at the bottom of page, or on page 30, with a Hebrew and English melody for the Ma'ariv Aravim prayer, the prayer that reminds us of God's creation and bringing on the evening. Baruch atah Adonai, speak the evening into being. Bechokmah poteach she'arim, as you turn the seasons round. Umachalif et hazmanim, let the stars keep watch above us. Baraki akirtzono, for the day and night are yours. Borei yom v'layla, borei yom v'layla, kolel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Borei yom, borayla, borei yom v'layla, kolel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. U'ma'avir yom u'mevi layla, crossing over into darkness. U'ma'avdil bein yom u'vein layla, drawing lines within the light. Adonai Tzevaot Shemo, God living and enduring. Tamid yimloch aleinu, forever, ever and beyond. Borei yom v'layla, borei yom v'layla, kolel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Borei yom v'layla, borei yom v'layla, kolel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Baruch atah Adonai HaMa'ariv Aravim. Let's read together in English on page 33. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. May be seated. Page 36, let's chant together. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavecha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha vehayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha veshinantam levanecha vedibareta bam beshiftecha bevetecha uvlechtecha vaderech uveshochbecha uvekumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha vehayu letotafot bein einecha uchtabtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tiskeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. Page 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there, except by joining hands, marching together, as we sing on page 40, Mi Chamocha, our song of redemption, to the melody for Passover. Mi Chamocha Ba'elim Adonai, Mi Chamocha Nedar Ba'kodesh, Nora tehilot o seifele malechut charau vanecha bokei ayam livnei Moshe Zeli, Zeli, Anu ve'ameru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar kifad Adonai et Yaakov Ugealo miyad chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Page 43, let's read together the English of the Hashkivenu, or the interpretation of the Hashkivenu prayer at the top. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. The Shamru on page 44. Veshameru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam beini uvein bnei Yisrael oti leolam leolam ki sheishet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz uvayom hashevi Shabbat vayinafash.
In a moment, we'll continue with the tefillah, our central standing prayer, and we'll continue with it with two changes special to the Passover holiday. One is that in the Ritzeh, a part of the tefillah where we express our hope that our prayers will have efficacy and that they will change something in ourselves or in the world, we have a special insertion on some holidays, including every day of Passover, hoping for blessings for all of us and for all the world. And so you'll hear that insertion when we get there. The other is that in the Givurot, the second blessing of the tefillah, the Amidah, we switch over during Passover from saying in the middle of the prayer, Mashiv Haruach Umorid Hagashem, which means that God causes the winds to blow and the rains to fall. We switch over to saying Morid Hatal, celebrating dew. And this is related to the climate of the people who wrote these prayers, most of whom lived in what's now Israel, and also some of whom lived in what's now Iraq, that they lived in a world with a clear rainy season and dry season. And so at Passover, as we move into the dry season for that part of the world, we also change our language so that we're not talking about rain anymore. But there's also an interesting way in which this changed. The Givurot is a prayer about regeneration and renewal and sort of finding possibilities where it seems like maybe we had none, whether through healing or growth or for some other reason. And we see how water fits into that. They could have just stuck with the rain, right? They could have just stuck with mentioning that in the winter there's rain and that's a source of renewal, and maybe omitted any mention of the weather in the summertime. But instead, this line about the dew calls us perhaps to think about where renewal and growth are possible in our lives in exactly the moment we're in, whether it is the dry season in a place with several months without rain, or whatever else is happening in our lives. So if it's comfortable for you, I will invite you to rise, and we'll begin on page 46 with the tefillah and continue through some of these special prayers of renewal and possibility for Passover and for this season.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agite hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. Page 50. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל, אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך הקדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
We continue on the top of page 55. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. Please join with me. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. We continue with the Ritzeh, or the Avodah, on page 56, hoping both that our prayers have efficacy in our lives and the world, and that this can be a time of blessing for us and for the world. Ritzeh Adonai Eloheinu b'Amha Yisrael, u'tefilatam be'ahava tikabel, u'tehi l'ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. El karov l'kol korav, panei el avdecha v'chonenu, shfoch rucha alinu. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, ya'aleh v'yavo v'yizacher zikronenu v'zikron kol amha beit Yisrael lefanacha. L'tova, l'chen, u'lehesed, u'lerachemim, l'chaim, u'leshalom, b'yom hag hamatzot hazeh.
זוכרנו אדוני אלוהינו בו לטובה. אמן. ופוקדנו בו לברכה. אמן. והושיענו בו לחיים. Amen.
Our God and God of our fathers and mothers, on this day of Pesach, be mindful of us and of all your people Israel, for good, for love, for compassion, life, and peace. Remember us for well-being.
Amen.
Visit us with blessing.
Amen.
Help us to a fuller life.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai hamachazir shechinato l'tzion.
Amen.
We continue now on the top of page 59. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, ulecha na'el lehodot.
Shalom Rav, page 60. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et amecha Yisrael bechol eit uvechol sha'a bishlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
Take a moment now for silent prayer.
Ose shalom bimromav, uya'ase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ose shalom bimromav, uya'ase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Page 253. We think about all of those people who need our prayers for their healing, for their strength, and so we offer the traditional Mishaberach prayer. Mishaberach avotenu ve'imotenu Avraham, Yitzhak ve'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel ve'Leah, hu yivarech et hacholim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu yimaleh rachamim alehem, lechacha limam urapotam, ulechacha zikam, v'yishlach lahem mehira refuah shlema min hashamayim, refuat hanefesh, refuat haguf, hashta ba'agala, v'zman kariv, and omar, Amen. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal all those who are ill, including Alon ben Barbara, Fuma Chana bat Hinda Yenta ve'Yisrael Pavel, Marcia Freza, Barbara Green, Anastasia Huryan, Sarah Klein, Jonathan Kosrin, David Loftman, Judith Loftman, Ellen Morgenstern, Meg Power, Margie Reisberg Goldstein, Vicky Shulkin, Benjamin Warchowski, and all the people that you name. May the blessed Holy One be filled with compassion, for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit, and let us together say, Amen, as we sing our prayer for Misha Berach, the second verse in the middle of that page. Misha Berach imotenu Mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And we offer this prayer too for those in Israel and Gaza. Avinu Sheba Shamayim, Sur Yisrael v'Goalo. Divine Presence, we ask you to spread a canopy of peace over the land of Israel. As you have redeemed the captives of our past, guard the innocent children, women, and men held hostage, and bring them home swiftly. Protect those who defend the land of Israel, and guide all those in power to pursue justice and peace. Shield every innocent life, those of every faith, race, and nationality, so that they may live to build a brighter future. Heal all those who suffer from loss, pain, and fear, and help us all to mend our broken hearts. Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai varech et amo v'shalom. May God bless God's people with strength and grant us the greatest gift of all, of peace. And let us say, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. The first time that I seriously questioned everything I had ever thought I knew about Judaism, I was 20 years old, a junior in college. My friend Rebecca and I were co-hosting a Seder for the first time in the basement of her dorm. The basement didn't have a kitchen, and so we lugged platters of food and a huge pot of homemade vegetarian matzo ball soup across campus. And we set a table for about 20 people. It was thrilling, and mostly we had a great time. The trouble came about halfway through the Seder. We had asked everyone to bring an object or quote that represented freedom to them, and to interject and share the object when the moment felt right. All was going swimmingly until one of our guests, who I'll call Elmer, raised his hand. "This is a book I'm reading for fun," Elmer said. "It represents freedom to me because the thing I feel most constrained by is my homework. This Passover, I want to focus on experiencing freedom from homework." The bolt of rage I felt in that moment was clarifying, electrifying, and in retrospect, kind of funny, because I too often felt constrained by homework in college. You'd think I might have related to Elmer, but actually what I felt deeply and in my bones was that Elmer had spoken words of purest heresy. Passover, as I practiced it, was not about freedom from homework. It was about freedom from actual slavery and other forms of systemic oppression. Topics of conversation I believed were appropriate on Passover included human trafficking and how to stop it, the legacy of slavery and race-based discrimination and violence in American history and how to make reparations for it, and contemporary injustices and how to right them. What was Elmer thinking bringing up homework? And also, what did it say about Judaism that any Jewish person could possibly be left with the impression that homework and Passover were related? Of course, I didn't say anything in the moment. And by the time our Seder had come to a close, my righteous indignation had softened into bewilderment and eventually curiosity. Elmer had shared that every year on Passover, his family thought about what they personally felt most constrained by and what kinds of freedoms they hoped for in their lives in the year ahead. Where had they come up with this framing? As I have learned more over the years about the strains of Jewish tradition that speak about Mitzrayim, Egypt, as the narrow place, after the false cognate in biblical Hebrew, Metzar, which means the narrow place, I have thought often of Elmer. He wasn't, as it turns out, a heretic. He was just drawing from a different but equally rich Passover tradition, one that often complements an approach to Passover focused on human rights. From Elmer and others over time, I learned that freedom isn't exclusively something to pursue out there in the world or in here inside of ourselves. These two freedoms are inextricably intertwined always, just as we are all intertwined with one another. In the 21st century, as more and more people make their own Haggadot, our community becomes even more full of creative Passover ideas and Seder-related expertise. The Seders we make are often an exquisite expression of our own theology, or at least theologies we can tolerate for a night or two over dinner. In advance of Passover this year, something I heard from many of you and experienced within myself was a persistent variation on the question, can our Passover customs hold us this year through all we are experiencing? What could, would, should the words of the Seder mean to each of us this year? What does it mean to remember our own liberation in a time when some of our people are literally held hostage by Hamas, still agonizingly after so many months, and we're not sure how to help them become free? What does it mean to say, let all who are hungry come and eat, when there is so much terrible hunger in many parts of the world, including in Gaza? What does it mean to see ourselves as having left a narrow place in a time of rising anti-Semitism and rising hate, when we may feel that actually our world has gotten very narrow indeed? In addition to being a sort of theological treatise, and I should clarify here that what I mean by theology is not limited to the idea of God, but something more like an expression of how we think the world works and how we should live in it. In addition to being that kind of theological treatise, the Seder is also a response to intergenerational trauma and moral injury. We were slaves, we say, and we conjure not just the Torah's story of the Exodus from Egypt, but also a whole lot of other things that have happened since then. And then we spend time putting a truly horrifying story in a fairly precise order, so precise that order is the name we gave the ritual itself. At a Seder, we share not just what happened, but also frequently why we think it happened, and what we are responsible for doing in the future as a consequence of our past experiences. This kind of orderly approach to some of life's biggest questions, like why do human beings mistreat each other, and how can we live with memories of suffering, and how can we make the world a better place? This kind of orderly approach can be extremely generative and empowering, until it's not. Sometimes new challenges arise for us, and we're not sure if our old answers or our old stories work anymore, either to explain the world or to explain how we should live in the world. Rabbi B'nai Lappi calls moments like these crashes, when there was a way we saw our world and our lives that worked really well for us, and suddenly, in the face of crisis, our previous worldview, and crucially our previous way of living because of that worldview, is unsustainable. Her paradigmatic example of a communal crash is the fall of the Second Temple during the Roman invasion of Jerusalem in 70 CE. The Jewish people, previously practitioners of a temple-based religion, were forced to reimagine who we were and how we were going to live in the world. Judaism as it exists today was in many ways forged in the centuries after that crash, as generations of people asked themselves again and again really big questions, like how can we live with loss? How do we live with fear? Who are we now that some of our systems for community building and making change in the world, systems that we used to think were permanent, are suddenly gone or deeply altered, or we have questions about them? What do we believe in an ideal society might look like, and how can we get there? What is in our power, what is not, and how do we know the difference? These days, many of us are asking ourselves versions of these questions multiple times a week, with each new headline. Last night, I was on a call for alumni and parents of my college's Hillel, and the rabbi of the Hillel said that he believes that for some college students today, this year's campus protests will be a generationally defining moment. But, he added, we don't know yet in which way or ways. The same is likely true of this year in general for many of us, in many different ways. We look around and we see a lot of brokenness, sometimes a disorienting and overwhelming amount, and often we feel uncertain about how to address it. Sometimes we may feel more certain than ever of some of our beliefs or some aspect of our identity, and sometimes much less certain than we ever felt before. But all of us are in uncharted waters in many different ways. The neat story about this time period, with clear morals and action steps, may take many years for us to write or come together to an understanding of. What do we do in the intervening time? And how can Jewish tradition hold us in this moment? One way I think rituals like the Seder can help us in hard times is by reminding us that once there was liberation, and one day there can be again, even if we're not always sure how. More than this, however, I think we can take great comfort in the sprawling and messy expanse of varied and sometimes conflicting Passover customs that Jewish and Jewish-adjacent people have created over time. All of these customs are aimed at answering somehow, what do we make of our history? And what does it mean to be free? What does it mean to be people living with that history and trying to make the world a better place, knowing what we know? We can take comfort in the more than 52,000 original Haggadahs posted to Haggadot.com. That's one Haggadah for every 381 Jews alive in the world today, by the way. And we can also take comfort in the 9th century song Dayenu, during which some Jewish communities hit each other with green onions and some do not. And the custom of spending the first night of Passover asking questions, which is at least 2,000 years old and maybe older than that. We can take comfort that Elmer's family taught him about the narrow places in our hearts and in our minds and how to stretch and stretch ourselves until we get to a wider place. And we can take comfort that my family taught me about fair trade chocolate matzah and the labor movement. And your family or your friends or neighbors or the interesting blog that you read earlier this week taught you something else. Passover as we have received it, much like Judaism as we have received it, is iterative and dialogical and as adaptable as the Jewish people ourselves. We tell and retell the story not just to honor the wisdom of those who came before, but because it is in the retelling that we make meaning of our own lives, that we find our way to wholeness, that we begin to imagine what it might look like to build a world where more people can live in wider and more expanses, where we, where they, where all of us feel free to be ourselves. It is my hope this year that we'll find our way there soon in conversation with one another, that we'll hold each other in the moments that feel hard, and that we'll take many opportunities to learn from one another. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may this be God's will. We continue now with a prayer of redemption, the Aleinu, which is on page 282. It's a delight to invite Ethan to join me in Cantor Shacket at the Ark to lead with us, and we'll invite you to rise if it's comfortable for you when the Ark is open.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטש שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגובהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. You may be seated. Page 287.
May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding, loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up on our hand, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up this universe with joy of wholeness and freedom and of peace.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
We'll be continuing in a moment with the Mourner's Kaddish, and as we prepare to enter that space, I invite you to spend a little time either with your own thoughts and memories or with one of the reflective readings that starts on page 288. It is our community's custom to read a list of names of folks who are being remembered by those in our community, either because they passed away recently or because they died at this time in years past. And to invite you, if you're here remembering one or more of these individuals, to rise if you're comfortable when you hear their name so that we can recognize your presence in our community. And after I read this list, I'll invite you all to add any names you didn't hear or correct any pronunciations that were incorrect. Tonight, our community is remembering the following people whose families are in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days following their funeral or following their death. Vicky Kagan, mother of Sarah Marner. Burton Lehman, father of Robin Madison. David Friedman, brother of Enid Rosenthal and uncle of Lynn Fletcher and Randy Rosenthal. Veronica Crawford Robinson, cousin of Lisa Downing. Lowell Jean Weiss, husband of Jean Wise. Ruth Bernstein Gold, mother of Jennifer Levy. Melvin Kruger, father of Robert Kruger. And Jack Hoffman, father of Greer Armandroff. To their names, we add the names of the following individuals whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of their death, falls this month or around this time. Suzanne Alperin, Camille Baker, Morris Beres-Divin, Arthur Burke, William Bonner, Arthur Brown, Pearl Budenstein, Linda Bushkoff, Abram Chandler, Mervyn Clark, Jack Cohen, Baltazar Cruz, Howard Dror, Isidore Foreman, Toby Freeman, Julia Garden, Yetta Goldberg, Linda Goodman Rose, Carol Greifer, Judy Height, Deborah Hertz, Richard Holnick, Doris Kaminer, Matthew Kaminer, Aaron Cass, Robert Knoll, Betty Korn, Leo Langzam, Paul Levine, Bessie Liebau, Lee Macht, Joseph Meltzer, William Milstein, David Moore, Robert Morgan, Hans Nathan, Sally Newman, Leonard North, Ada Oppenheimer, Harry Rosenbaum Jr., Rose Rosenstein, Jane Salkind, Maureen Sanford, Florence Skolkin, Jerome Schwartz, Solomon Seif, Eugene Sekala, Robert Shamaskin, Harvey Shapiro, Jerry Shankman, Rudy Scher, Jerry Springer, Sarah Lee Stein, Robert Weiner, Max Weitzman, Jonah Warchowski, Herman Wolf, Leon Wolfsthal, and Morton Zed. If you have a name to add or a pronunciation to correct, please do so as my hand moves around the room.
My great-grandfather Marcus Simon and Joe Simon.
Thanks. Thank you. Zikronam livracha, may all of their memories be for a blessing. If it's comfortable for you, we invite everyone to rise in solidarity with our mourners on page 294. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach hirtei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayehon uv'yomehon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'gala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach le'olam omei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei kudsha brichu. Le'ila min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved, as together we say, amen. Please be seated. It is now a pleasure to invite forward Raina Pratt to bring greetings and announcements on behalf of the board.
Shabbat Shalom. On behalf of the TRS board, I am so honored to welcome you to our worship service tonight. It's great to be together, whether you're in person or joining us via streaming. If you're new to Temple Road of Shalom, it would be a joy to welcome you properly and tell you more about our wonderful community. Please feel free to approach one of the clergy or me to say hello during the Oneg Shabbat reception after the service. I'll also be there with a helper guiding you on how to compost, because TRS is really starting to rev up our composting. So come talk to me about that, about TRS, about signing up to help with the composting. We have so much to talk about. I do want to send a special congratulations to Ethan. You did a great job tonight so far. I know tomorrow is going to be amazing. Have a good time, okay? All right, please see the back of our program for a selection of our upcoming programs, details about the Erev seventh-day Pesach service, and congregational conversations about Israel are there. Our entire program calendar and details can be found in the latest edition of The Connection and on our website. There's so much to do here. Please check it out. We hope to see you again soon. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so much, Raina. And just for that Erev seventh-day Pesach service on Sunday night, it is Yizkor during that service, so we will be reading the names of all of those people who died in the last year, from Pesach to Pesach. And if you're in that first year of mourning, please do come. But anyone is welcome to come to say Yizkor for someone who passed away previously. That is Sunday night at 7:30, I believe. We're ready for Kiddush, so I'm going to invite Ethan back to join us here to hold the Kiddush cup with me. Here you go. Come over here. And if you'll rise and join us on page 5, we'll join Ethan. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'ratzon hilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehillah למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי לנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים. ושבת קודשך We're going to conclude our service tonight with Adir Hu back in your programs. You can put that right there on the... Back in your programs on the last panel, but with a different melody, not the traditional Ashkenazi melody, but the Sephardic melody to close our services tonight, so please join us. Go back and have a seat. Adir Hu, Yibne Veto Bikaro, Bimhera, Biyamenu Bikaro, El Bnei, Bnei Vetecha Bikaro, El Bnei, Vetecha Bikaro, God of might, God of right, You we give all glory. Sing your praise in these days. Celebrate your glory. When we hear year by year freedom's wondrous story. When we hear year by year freedom's wondrous story. As we go forth on this Shabbat of Pesach, may we remember our freedoms with this prayer: O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you, O God. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and may our country be sound in body and spirit as we say, Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.